Only in America can an Hispanic man of Jewish descent kill a young black man in self-defense, and despite having nothing to do with the situation whatsoever, white people as a collective group get the blame. Yes, I'm talking about the recent Trayvon Martin case, which you've probably all heard about. The other name is the Trayvon Martin shooting. What happened was a man named George Zimmerman, clearly an Hispanic man of Jewish descent, as the name goes, Zimmerman, shot dead Trayvon Martin, who attacked him, punching him in the face. Now, despite this situation, white people have seemed to got the blame. You have people such as Reverend Al Sharpton and the typical Jesse Jackson coming out saying that this is a war on blacks, and that that the white man is once again keeping the brother down. And you also have President Barack Hussein Obama pushing his nose into it, saying that if he had a son, he would look like Trayvon Martin. He's basically just saying, yeah, I'm a brother, I feel this sort of pain inside. But why are white people getting the blame? Well, that's when it comes down to the typical culprit, Mr. Media, the mass media. Fox News, CNN, NBC, all seem determined that Zimmerman was a white man. Despite the fact that he's clearly an Hispanic man, you can just tell by looking at him. And not only that, he's of Jewish descent. He's not even of real European descent, he's of Semite Jewish descent. But they are determined to drill it into the American people's mind that this guy is white. And this also plays into the agenda of creating once again an America where white people is viewed as sort of the top dog and the enemy and keeping everybody else down. And this will also distract people from the growing flash mob attacks in places such as Philadelphia and Tennessee and Florida. In fact, recently in Florida, 2 British tourists were gunned down by a man named as, I believe, Shane. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but I'll leave an article below. I'm pretty sure he was called Shane something. What this black man done was, he took these 2 British tourists, told them to strip off their clothes, and then when they stripped down and were begging for their lives, he shot them dead. And then rang his friend 2 minutes later and said, I got those 2 crackers. Yeah, that actually happened. And the parents of these British tourists who were killed sent 3 letters to Barack Obama, and he ignored every single one of them because there was no political gain in it for him. And I will also leave an article below to that. So as you can see, there's a lot of attacks on white people growing. I've made videos on that. So they need this. What they need right now, the elite, the Obamas and the Clintons, what they need right now is an American Stephen Lawrence. If you don't know, Stephen Lawrence was basically a young black man who was apparently killed by 2 racists, who I believe stabbed him in some part of London, and he's had a holiday and a whole trust fund named after him. It's really gotten crazy over here, and still today, despite the fact that he was killed many years ago, they still talk about how the BNP and the EDL will create another Stephen Lawrence type incident. Yeah, that's what they're doing in America right now. They're creating a Stephen Lawrence, but American style, and his name is going to be called Trayvon Martin. So anyways, we've basically just punched loads of holes in this media campaign. We've shown the pictures of Trayvon Martin with the money in his hand and the gangster signs. It's come out that Trayvon Martin has been involved in burglaries and assaults. So we can see what type of young, innocent man Trayvon Martin is. And Zimmerman, apparently he killed him in self-defense, which I believe. Because you've seen the pictures of his face afterwards with the bruises and the cuts. So it's pretty simple. If this is an Hispanic black issue, I would stay out of it, even as a white person, but I'd still say, listen, he defended himself because that's common sense. Now I need to get involved because this is generally affecting white people. This is basically, people saying that this is white people's fault, they're going to have to pay, a young black person's been killed, if we don't get what we want, we're going to riot. I mean, you seen what happened in the 90s when the blacks rioted in LA. You seen what happened last year when Mark Duggan was shot dead by police in London, and they completely burned down Tottenham. They rioted in Croydon. They, carjacked people in Hackney. This is a realistic sort of event which could happen basically all over America. If they don't get their way, Detroit, LA, South Florida, all these places could be affected. by what I could see as a war on whites by blacks who haven't got their way. And Obama will probably just stand by and say, hey, if he was my son, he would look like that. So, I'm going to take their side. So this is really an issue of, basically Zimmerman versus Trayvon Martin versus white people. That's basically how it went. But it's unfair. It really is unfair. And that's all I've really got to say about it, because until now there's been no recent developments. Zimmerman hasn't been arrested, there aren't no riots on the streets, but I believe that in the coming weeks we'll see something. I don't know what it will be, but I imagine it'll be big. Like I said, the elite need something to distract people from other issues as well, such as rising gas prices due to sanctions on Iran and the ever-growing disaster, which is the war in Afghanistan. So they need a distraction. I wouldn't be surprised if Britain jumped in on it as well, because we certainly need a lot of distractions. And in other news, which I'll have to add in this video, is George Galloway, a very pro-Islamic individual, got into Parliament a couple of days ago when he won his seat in West Bradford. There's been a lot of media coverage of this. George Galloway is well known in Britain for his appearances on Celebrity Big Brother. He's been a guest commentator on places such as Press TV, which is Iranian state TV. And although I agree with George Galloway on some issues, I would say that he is basically a projection of what Britain is today. People like George Galloway, the people he represents, can now walk into the halls of power in Britain. This is what multiculturalism has created. This is what David Cameron says has failed, but at the same time backs it completely. This is Britain. So I leave you today with saying that George Zimmerman is not a white man. He killed Trayvon Martin in self-defense. And despite the fact white people will get the blame, individuals such as me, who are hardcore racists apparently, will stand by and defend our people from unjustified attacks by the media machine and racists such as Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. I thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.